Good morning, everyone. It's very exciting that in the 10th edition, we are again here, post-pandemic. We are meeting in person. This is a very exciting time. In the morning, we had excellent talk by the Honorable Governor from Kerala. It has energized all of us. And the topic now is learning online, crossing the digital divide. Learning online has become almost order of the day, be it school education, high school education, college education, university education. Probably thanks to COVID. Prior to that, way back, I recollect when I was director at College of Engineering, Pune, for the first time, online education from IIT Bombay to a state government college was envisaged by none other than the father of software industry in India, Dr. F.C. Kohli. And we did it for about 17 courses for about 2 years. That was using video conferencing, internet bandwidth of 2 Mbps, which was very difficult. I'm talking about 2006. And then on, within 2 years, we had Khan Academy, which came in 2008. 2012, we had both edX and Coursera, and then many others. And in India also, we had what is known as NPTEL, which was doing all of engineering courses online. Not exactly online, but it was available online. And this was all started way back in the 2010 era itself. We had also virtual labs, doing laboratory classes in an online mode. All of that was happening, but the pace at which it was being used was very limited. Very few universities and colleges adopted. Many of them decided, no, we should have it in the face-to-face mode only. This is the only way the education can be imparted. Partly true, because many of the issues of education cannot be handled in the online, and therefore we do require physical meetings of this sort where we come interact with each other, and that's also equally important. But nevertheless, the technology was available, it was enabling. We had our own Swayam 2017, which is a MOOC platform which was developed indigenously in India. More than 3,000 courses today available. But come to 2020, how many institutions did use? If you look at it, it was very meager. And it was this pandemic which forced all the institutions to be closed down, and actually there was nothing other than online. So each one of them, some of them who had their own LMS system, learning management system, some of them were using Moodle in the classrooms, but went ahead and then continued with different types of systems, either from the edutech companies, and then finally they went on. And the education was imparted. Now there are several reports based on the last 2 years' experience as to what is the nature of education delivery that has happened, whether online education has succeeded, to what extent. And this is a question which also brings in the other one, which is digital divide. I was reading in the newspaper, the Honorable Vice President, when speaking yesterday, he talked about digital divide, and we need to bridge it. There is no way other than that. And that's why when we are talking about the learning online, first thing which we need to do is to see to it that there is no digital divide. And the new national education policy on one side is highly empowering in terms of providing a lot of flexibility to all our students in terms of taking courses other than from your own discipline, becoming multidisciplinary, doing projects also from different domains, as well as the credits being earned, being deposited in what is known as academic bank of credits, which can be made use of subsequently at any time. It is like a bank account. The previous session was on all economy. We were all talking about 7 trillion economy, but here we want our 160 credits for earning a bachelor's degree in engineering, or 120 credits for earning a Bachelor of Science, Commerce or Arts degree. And that is where students from a particular institute where they have joined may accumulate their credits and make use of them either in the same university subsequently by taking a break of 1 year, 2 year, which was not permitted earlier. For every program, our regulations said, if you have a 3-year program, you have to complete it in 5 years. If you have a 4-year program, in 6 years. Otherwise, university senates will drive you out, and it is like our, in Hindi, Saap Sidi Ka Khel, snake and ladder game. All that 2 years, 3 years you have learned because the SAP head, you come down, and again, if you want to start your degree program, you have to again start from the scratch. So this academic bank of credits is a very empowering thing in this online education mode. And very interestingly, two other things which are very pertinent to this online education is, this is highly affordable compared to a university where a student has to take admission, right from taking an admission test. And I know in engineering there are several tests, in management there are several tests. A student who aspiring for going into a good school has to take at least 5 tests, and probably he will make a mark in one of them, and therefore he has to spend a lot of money on that. Secondly, in a physical mode, one has to go travel, stay there. It is not only the tuition fee which is a part, but second part is the living expenses. But the online education, by staying at your home, you will be able to do the same level of courses, and therefore highly affordable. It is also highly qualitative. I'm telling you why it is highly qualitative. In a classroom mode, we don't know what happens in those 4 hours. There is an excellent teacher, he delivers an excellent class, and students have really enjoyed, they learn a lot. And there are poor teachers, we don't even know about what has happened there. In an online one, it is all transparent, it is available, seen, and therefore, quality of education naturally puts pressure on the teachers to become better and better, and therefore, it is both affordable, quality education, and accessible at any point. And today, with the data that is flowing, internet reaching to nooks and corners of the country, I think this is the most modest way of increasing the gross enrollment ratio, which the new education policy talks about, taking it to 50% from the present 27%. No brick and mortar universities and colleges can do it in the 10 to 15 years time schedule, which it has said. You will require 50 years, because for 75 years, we increased from 0.7% to 27%. And from 27 to 50 with the change in population, and I think it will take 50 more years. So it is only the online education which can happen. But the flip side is also to be noted and remembered. There are 2-3 very important aspects of this online education. Number one, which is the best one has to be decided by the stakeholder, the student. And therefore, plethora of such educational possibilities do exist on one side, but the parents have to do a lot of brainstorming amongst themselves with the candidates and all of them, and decide which of the online programs one has to attempt at. This is number one. The second one is the reach. All said and done, even while in a place like this, where Indian Express is organizing from a Chola, one of the topmost hotels, and the government office from where the previous talk was going on, there was a small break in between, and we were not audible. Sometimes it was going off. If that is the case between Chennai and Delhi, you can imagine what Vice President said yesterday, that when you go to the rural areas or smaller places, tribal areas, the reach is still not so stable. And that's why, while theoretically this will certainly have no problems in terms of empowering our citizenry, but there are challenges which exist. So not everything is hunky-dory. And what is required to be done, which government is already doing, thankfully, under what is known as the National Digital Mission, we have Bharat Net project. Today, already 2.5 lakh villages are connected with broadband connectivity. There are 6 lakh plus villages. So I think the task is, in the next couple of years, the remaining 3.5 lakh villages need also to be connected, and not only connected with fiber optic connectivity, 1 Gbps connectivity. Maybe at least to start with, it may be available in some of the common service centers, in the village panchayat office, maybe in some of the persons, there may be a school where it is available, so that students can go and take it up. And gradually, when you spread it to every household, thankfully, 2 years back, India declared that the last village in Nagaland was also electrified. We want every village in the country to have broadband fiber network connectivity. Until then, there are alternate models of education, which also, similar to the SWAYAM, which is a MOOC platform, we have Swayam Prabha. There are 33 DTH channels. Same content which is available on the MOOC platform is also delivered through the TV channel. With an antenna of 2,500 rupees, you can fix it anywhere to any part of the country, from Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Anywhere we can get that DTH channel education at your doorsteps, at your home. So delivery of education is accessibility of that, anytime learning, anywhere learning, from anyone learning, by using any device learning. I think this is the power of the technology which has happened. And that's why the government, what it is doing is in terms of providing connectivity to all the 6 lakh plus villages, then we will truly say that we are empowered. We are talking about toilets in every school. We are talking about electricity everywhere. Similarly, internet everywhere is the need of the hour. It is the new oxygen, new water. Without oxygen and water, we can't survive. Today, without internet, we can't survive. If it goes down, we get impatient. I think it's like fish out of water. So stable, good connectivity is the order of the day which is necessary, which government is doing on its part. But that is not good enough. Even if there is an internet connectivity available, there are 2 other things which also become relevant for our online education. The second part is the devices. We talked about any device we can use, but are people capable of buying those devices? For example, starting from a laptop or a PC to even a smartphone which costs a little more than a normal, otherwise mobile phone, which most of the people do have today. But smartphones will be slightly expensive. Can every child have all of that available? Many state governments, including I know Tamil Nadu and many other states, do provide laptops, etc., to started with girl students, low-income group students, etc. So I think that empowerment has to be done by even the state governments. That is one of the roles that they have to play so that there is no digital divide. Secondly, finally, you have a pipe which comes to your place. You have a device from where you can draw, but final connectivity is the tap. That means the data charges, And fortunately, in India, compared to any other country in the world, we are the cheapest in terms of data. I recently had an opportunity to interact with some African countries for conducting a hackathon for South African, entire continent. And we found that they said we cannot do it because the data cost is so huge. I think I cannot even dream that it can be so expensive. It will be something like several lakh rupees per month for getting data for some of the countries in the African nations. So if that is the case, I think how can we provide online education? Maybe there are still challenges in the third world countries. In some of the first world also there are challenges, but I think the only way forward is we have learned lessons in the COVID. How do we make use of this? If not fully online, how it can be a blended learning where you have a physical class, physical education also happening, but at the same time, wherever required, when the expertise is not available in our own institution, how do we make use of it from another institution? And that's where the present budget session, which talked about digital university, and in digital university in the form of a hub and spoke model, where several spokes will be there. Excellent institutions can come together along with a hub, and students can take courses from all possible places and get a degree of the stature of an IIT or an Indian Institute of Science. These are all enabling things. So we must know the flip side, take care of those, and I'm sure we will be able to address the problems that are there. Thank you very much. Wonderful for inviting me here for giving this talk.
Professor, you really just, did my work for me. You really set the tone for the discussion. I wanted to ask you, given all that you said, and really the main points were the connectivity. You talked about that. I was going to ask you about the digital divide. You talked about the devices. Those are important. And the whole idea of blended learning. So in this environment, how does AICTE see itself? Because now you have to remodel AICTE as well, in a way, because there has to be a public-private partnership with, these students who've set up these remarkable, organizations as well. How does AICTE see itself in this new environment?
Kaveri, much before even pandemic, 2, 3 things which we started off are very relevant. Number one, what I said is about the SWAYAM courses, which are there available for them at their doorsteps. But secondly, we have a platform called NEET, National Educational Alliance for Technologies, which we opened up about 2, 3 years ago. One of the reasons for doing that was we used to receive several emails, letters from several edtech companies stating that we have such a product, it's very cheap, why can't you promote it?
Right.
And then being a government agency, especially a regulator, if you start promoting a particular company, there will be eyebrows raised.
Oh, yes.
There are any hanky-panky things happening.
Yeah.
And that's why we were very careful and we created a philosophy that we can have an open advertisement and 3 levels of verification, starting from blind review, where we don't even know the name of the company. The company only gives the name of the product, not even name of the product. They will say what all outcomes can be achieved through that. A student will be able to learn AI, or a student will be able to learn machine learning or robotics, or for that matter, a computer language like Python. This is what is the outcome of from the product. Once that product, whatever it claims is supposedly useful, then we go to the next level to see that company has all compliances. Last session was unfortunately about compliances. We are not seeing some 4,000, 8,000 compliances, just 2, 3 compliances, whether the company is registered, whether it is paying its taxes, that's all. These are 2 compliances because we want the honest business to happen, and that's all. Third level is actually checking the product. After the product is seen that it is really doing what it claims, then we look at the cost. The last part is the cost. We don't negotiate, very clear. Whatever the rate is there, that is fine. It is up to the edutech company to decide. But only condition is for out of every 4 students who buy the product, please give 1 seat free, and that free seat will be used for providing it to the disadvantaged sections of the society, be it SC, ST, or economically weaker sections. So 4 versus 1, so 4 seats bought, maybe at 3,000 rupees a seat, 2,000, whatever the product. So we are already empowering edutech companies in terms of providing all of that, whatever products these guys have developed, on the AICTE's platform called NEET, along with the Ministry of Education. And very recently, 12.5 lakh seats were given free of cost to those poorer children. That means 48, 50 lakh business has been made by this. This is all empowerment which AICTE is already doing. Moving forward, there are more opportunities which will come. As I said, digital university, we have the plug and play model of educational content coming from different sources may be used. All of that is the future. So I think digital university is way forward.
Right. So I'm going to ask each of you gentlemen on stage to ask Professor Sahasrabudhe, or to request him, what are the things that you require from the government to make your life easier? You're all obviously very rich boys, if I can say that, given the number of seats that Professor Sahasrabudhe said were, sold or put out in the market. So tell me, what is it that you require from the government? You obviously do need the government, because you can't have connectivity without them. What do you need from him?
Yeah, I'll start.
You go first.
Great. Firstly, thanks for having me here. From government, of course, now that sir is here, we have a lot of things to ask. But prior to that, I'll just introduce what we do. So we introduce entrepreneurship for school students. Like any school, we were completely an offline company. We used to send our tutors, some entrepreneurs to the schools, and we used to teach entrepreneurship for kids, right from grade 6th and above. And 2020 March, COVID happened, and we were also clueless, because how do we scale this up, or say, how do we, now that we can't send the tutors, what happens? Then, a lot of people, we all have been inspired by Vedantu, Upgrad, all of these, edtech players. Then we thought, okay, fine, I think there is a scope for us to introduce this online, also digital. But I was confused because entrepreneurship can't be taught online, right? You need to have touch and feel for entrepreneurship. But later, we started, like any other school, we started using this Google Classrooms or say Zoom, and we started bringing entrepreneurs. But within 6 months, when I look back at the numbers, we scaled up our mentor pool from 4 or 5 tutors to 45 tutors across 14 states. And also we started getting admissions from, say, places like, Ludhiana, Faridabad, where no one knows what metamorphosis is. We were Hyderabad-based company. Then we thought, there is a lot of scope for this. And COVID has happened, and, last 2 years, we have scaled up pretty well. Then we
How many tutors do you have now?
Right now, we have a pool of about 75.
Okay.
In fact, from US, we have few tutors that are mentoring the kids. And so a lot of schools, or say, in fact, the college students these days, they have a lot of startup ideas. They wanted to start their own ventures. They have ideas. So one thing that, I wanted to check with Sahasrabudhe sir is, can we offer entrepreneurship as a degree? Because entrepreneurship is never taught as a degree, right? I mean, it's just a skill. I went to VIT Vellore, and I'm really happy to be back in Tamil Nadu today. And I did my BTech Computer Science, but when it comes to my entrepreneurial journey, it's completely different. I never deal with any of the codings or say, C++, hash include, something, code or .org. I never deal with that. But had there been, a degree for entrepreneurship, I'm sure I would be the merit student. So can entrepreneurship be considered as a degree?
Right. I think it's a wonderful question. Professor?
Yeah, I think we already have a degree as far as postgraduate is concerned. It's called postgraduate diploma or postgraduate degree in management program, which is called Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Business Development. There is a 2-year program. We started with very few institutions because we wanted to test waters before we launch it more. Now we have more than 30 odd institutions who are running this program. Not only that, we have a course called Entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship in terms of variety of courses of entrepreneurship nature as electives in almost all engineering colleges today. May not be a formal degree program in undergraduate program as on today, but day is not far. We have seen school kids, 7th, 8th graders, they are creating big startup companies and becoming millionaires.
Yeah. And appearing on Shark Tank.
And we should not say that Lakshmi and Saraswati have to be always different. They can be together. While learning, we can also do this. I think we are all empowering. We have a startup policy. We have a policy which was announced first in the 2016 itself when Government of India announced its startup policy. AICTE has its own policy. We have said a student in a college can take a break of 1 year, 2 year, like sabbatical leave for faculty, can try out whatever experiment, may succeed, may fail, doesn't matter. In fact, in startup ecosystem, failures are more. It doesn't matter. Every failure gives you lessons for doing something better in next time. So I think we are with you.
Yeah.
Pawan, his name of the company is Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis.
So they are doing a metamorphosis.
Yes.
In education, we are doing metamorphosis.
Great.
And Pawan is wind in our
Wind, exactly.
So that wind should flow all across actually.
So we have exactly 5 minutes, gentlemen. You're used to elevator pitches. You quickly tell us what is it that you require from the government, and then I'll ask Professor Sahasrabudhe to give us a last 1 minute closing remarks. Please, go ahead.
So just to set the context, I come from K-12 background because most of the discussion is happening around the higher education.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of need of work there as well. And for the last 16 years, I've been a teacher myself. I've taught offline for 7-8 years of my life in small rural areas in the country. And that led to the thought of Vedantu, that how can I reach to every nook and corner of the country to create impact in young lives, to create an environment where, they can come to the same level where the developed part of the country children are at, right? So we have been, so as sir was talking about, online education is a buzzword now. We have been doing it since 2013, but definitely saw it picking up post 2017-18. Of course, 2020 and later was the watershed moment for all of us. But now, coming to the point, having taught children of schools, young children, I've realized that there are multiple problems that they face. And now I'm specifically talking about children which are suffering from the digital divide.
Right.
These children are from poor backgrounds. They are from, very such parts of the country where the facilities and the infrastructure is not there. These children, the first problem is to create the accessibility for them. which I think is happening. The government is also taking steps. The private infrastructure is also getting built. And we are on one side giving a lot of content to them. But unlike higher education, young children, I've realized giving them content is not just the solution.
Yeah.
Because young child needs inspiration, motivation, and a lot needs to be done for them to actually start getting into the learning process.
They need a lot of hand-holding.
They need a lot of hand-holding, right? Because there is no tangibility that they
Yeah.
understand. Like, for example, an AI degree, people understand if I get a degree, I'll get a job. But a young child, imagine a sixth grader, he doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
Now, how do we solve the problem for that? So, one experiment which we did, so we started a program called Help India Learn, where we collaborated with multiple NGOs who are working on ground with a lot of these children in these different parts of the country. And we then started providing them the services. I'm using the word service, not the content, because content, for example, I'm delivering content at scale. On my YouTube channel, we teach 13 million kids every year, right? And these are from tier 3, 4 and below towns. But that is just propagating the content. But to teach them is service. You need mentorship, you need personalization. So that is a very deep work and it incurs cost. So in doing so, we collaborated with the likes of Melinda Gates Foundation and all to also help creating this ecosystem. So my request to sir is, can we create an ecosystem where multiple bodies like not-for-profits to technology providers and content providers like Vedantu, because we have worked a lot on technology. Today, our live learning platform runs at 40% lesser bandwidth requirement as compared to the likes of Googles and the Zooms. Because we have to do it, because 70% of our children come from towns and villages, right? So can we create an ecosystem where not-for-profits, public, that is the government, and the private come together to create an ecosystem where children, where for-profit education providers otherwise can never go to, and government will struggle to go to because of the lack of many things which we have worked on. Can we together come together and make it happen is something that I want to, we would love to discuss with sir and the government in general.
Yeah. Falgun? Yeah. I'll ask Falgun to quickly, and then we are,
Hi, everybody.
sorry, we have very little time.
My name is Falgun and I'm one of the co-founders of UpGrant. So first, thanks Pulkit, but I would like to disagree that children need motivation but adults don't.
That's true.
From what we see and what we do, adults need equal amount of inspiration and hand-holding to successfully do what they want to do in education. But I think one of the themes for today has been digital divide. And I think that's a massive problem. But I think like any technology and like most technologies, it first starts at the top of the pyramid and then keeps going down like telecom or automobile. But there is a lot of work to do given the opportunity that we have at hand to unlock education at scale. So for that, while we as UpGrad, for example, have created UpGrad Foundation to see what we can do to bridge that gap, my request to Sahasrabudhe sir would be to see, as Pulkit said, how can we work with the government and the regulators to bridge this gap even faster? One is the idea of bringing all of us together on a single platform to see how we can coordinate the effort. The second thing would also be to invest resources and handhold all the institutions across K-12 and higher education, because when I typically visit 10, 20, 30 colleges a month, and I see that they understand that it will not be completely online or completely on campus. It will probably be some form of blended, but they're struggling to figure out how to structure and create that experience for learners. And I think some form of push from the government in terms of hand-holding will really help all of us work together to bridge that digital gap. The second thing is, as you mentioned in your keynote, it is not just about increasing GER, but it's also about helping people upskill so that they can contribute more to the economy, right? People who are in their jobs currently. So for them, what can we do to incentivize, to ensure that they can invest in upskilling? And this is something I keep saying before every budget. Like in many countries, people should be given tax breaks to invest in education, their own education, so that they can upskill. And that's something that's done in the US and multiple countries, and it goes a long way in giving people that incentive to invest. And that's, I think, something we need to do as a nation.
Great. Professor, you have 1 minute.
See, both Pulkit as well as Falgun have put in excellent ideas about what needs to be done. I think what already government is doing, I would like to say that through National Education Policy, there is a mention of National Educational Technology Forum, NETF, to be created. Committee has been established under chairmanship of the former CEO also of Infosys, and that committee is working. There are 3 groups who will submit their reports. At the end of that, there will be a structure where only 20% of the architecture will be created by the government and 80% will be for full flow, whether it is private sector, the other government sector, the states.
Sir?
It should happen within a couple of months more.
Okay.
Because the reports are to be submitted before this month. Deadlines are already approaching. And Shibuji is after us because he is going abroad. So before that, Shibulal wants that we should complete the task. Similarly, there is another group which is working on what is known as National Digital Architecture.
Right.
Already in India, for school education already exists. In higher education also we are doing it. So integrating all of that. So there is a platform where private entities can come and onboard. There will be a sandbox where the things will be tested. Those which are successful will be onboarded onto the platform. It's a unique mix of government, private. It's a true PPP model of digital education.
Wonderful.
Which is in the offing. I hope in a couple of months' time, a lot of light will come out of that. Thank you.
Wonderful. And may we have many more Infosys and many more metamorphoses, Vedantu and upgrades. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
By the way,
wonderful.
Pulokit, I was saying in Sanskrit it is happiness.
Oh,
so
you have brain,
school children need to be happy.
Yes.
That is important.
Yes.
And Falgun is the last month in Hindu calendar.
Right.
So the last word he is trying to steal from out of this.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was really wonderful. I know it was short, but I think we got our point across, and thank you very much for it.